Welcome to the HiredUp podcast. Today is a quick little clip of a good friend of mine talking about a hiring experience that she recently had with a pretty sizable company. And it's really eye-opening to see how even the new companies that seem like they're on the cutting edge of technology and speed and efficiency, how they're losing really high quality candidates by just being inefficient in their hiring process. So listen up, this is an interesting one.
I was interviewing for this company and this guy reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, want to set up a call? And I was interested because a couple of people from my company went over there. So I was like, yeah, I want to hear what's happening. Right. So I took a call, and the first two calls or interviews that I had with this, he's a manager, sales manager, both an hour long, and it was about him explaining what the company is, how they're growing, all that stuff. But we had to split it up into 2 1-hour calls. Okay. And then I was like, okay, that's kind of a cool approach, but I'm interviewing for a sales role. I have to maybe clarify that. So then the next call I had was also an hour interview long, and that's where he asked questions to me, about my company, job, all that stuff. And I was like, okay. Well, he wanted to set up another call that's an hour long, getting to know more about me. So at this point, it's about I've met with him 4 times, and they're both been an hour long. So after the 4th one, he's like, hey, I want you to meet a colleague of mine. And I was like, okay, great. Met the colleague, another hour interview with her. Then I had to do another hour interview back with him to debrief, and then him to also ask more questions. So by then I'm like, okay, hopefully we can, that's how many interviews by this point.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot. And so he's like, I want you to meet another colleague of mine. He's in charge of the customer success role, but I want him to get his feedback on you, opinion on you, because it means a lot, because I know him well. I'm like, okay, great. And a customer success role, that's like support. So it's not anything to do with sales. So I met with him, and he interviewed me for an hour, and he's like, great. I want you to meet another colleague of mine. And I'm like, hey, hold on. I was talking to the first guy, and he said that, I'm not interviewing with you. It's more of, because he thought I was interviewing for his role, a customer success role, and not the other role that I was interviewing for.
So he was totally confused what role you were even interviewing for.
Exactly. Apparently, the guy who I've been talking to, for like 4 or 5 times, never told him I was interviewing to be on the other guy's team, not his team. So this other guy thought I was interviewing to be on his team.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, no, I'm interviewing for a sales role, not a support role. He goes, well, I think you'd be great in support, not sales. And I'm like, that's not going to work, right? That's not who I am. It's not, no.
Right.
He's like, well, I want you to meet a colleague of mine because I really do think you'd be great in support. And I was like, okay. So I ended that call, called the other guy back, and I was like, I think there's a confusion, because I'm not supposed to be, I don't want to be in support. I'm a sales person. He's like, oh yeah, I never actually told him who you are or anything. I just kind of set it up. I'm like, okay, what?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so he still recommended me to meet his colleague's other person. And then as I was about to set up that interview, the main guy who I've been talking to for how long said, hey, just wanted to let you know I've stopped hiring completely.
Oh.
I'm like, what? He goes, I stopped hiring. I need to find a manager because I actually just got promoted. So now I need another manager or director, and I can't hire any more people in this location anymore. And I'm like, so I've wasted maybe 10 hours of my life talking to 4 different people. I mean, and no one was on the same page. It was bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre.
Wow. That's so unfortunate, because it's such a time waste of course for you, but you would think that they wouldn't want to waste their own time. That's such a time waste for them.
I know, that's what I thought too. I'm like, I built such a connection with this first person. I talked to him how many times, spent how many hours with him, to then get told, one, he wasn't telling the people he wanted to meet about me, right? It was just like, just meet with them. And they had no idea what I was interviewing for. And then two, I'm just like, what's going on? It was bizarre. It was bizarre. I was so surprised that he stopped like that interview process completely. And he did it with multiple people from who I knew who were interviewing for that role. And I'm like, he wasted so many hours and all these other candidates, and just said, we're not hiring right now out of nowhere. Yeah. It was nuts.
Wow. Well, I think it shows that the companies that have their hiring process down well are going to win, because
yeah,
I mean, if you could have gone through that process in 1 or 2 interviews and already had an answer, you would probably be working there right now.
Exactly. If I look back, this whole process maybe took about 2 months, wow. Of emailing, because sometimes they wouldn't respond, so I'd have to follow back on email, and it seemed like a great opportunity, but obviously me having to keep doing all this and no one was on the same page. It was really unorganized. It just was very unfortunate.
Wow.
It probably took 2 months, right? And that's a long time.
That's way too long.